funds dedicated to investment. I guess you have probably the same thing in your countries. Of course, the commercial policy of Europe is determined by the European Commission. So it's the same rules for trade with any country belonging to the EU community. But once you want to set up a business inside France, Italy, Germany, wherever, you have to adapt to the rules of the country in terms of taxation, in terms of social security system, corporate status, and so on. We have a European corporate status, but in that case, of course, business fund might help you, but then you will have to go through a lawyer, corporate lawyer. So this is the way the business can be conducted.
And maybe, sorry, thank you, Will. No, the issue of the import requirements. Darren, the guy there, will in a minute make a presentation exactly on the database that you have available to access European markets. There you find everything concerning standards, import requirements, and everything. He will exactly show you. But as William was saying, we have normally, I say normally and generally, a harmonized set of import requirements which applies to all EU member states, with some exceptions. Well, apart from setting up business, this is more related to taxation and the social system that are slightly different in each member state. But when it comes to a good or a service exported to the EU, import requirements are generally the same unless there is not an harmonized legislation. But this is very, very niche things. I make an example of crocodile meat. I know that for South Africa, I was very interested to export crocodile meat. This is an area, for instance, where we don't have an harmonized legislation. But simply because we are not used to that meat, and it's something new for us. Maybe one day we have an harmonized legislation, but not at this stage. But generally, for 90% of products, the import requirements are exactly the same. Just another tiny thing about, I see that gentleman from Volkswagen is here. We will have a meeting, I will put you on the spot, for the electrical vehicles, because I think this is exactly a very important question. And it's not only for electrical vehicles, but for everything we produce worldwide. We are facing all a common challenge, which is climate change. This affects equally all of us. Of course, we have different responsibilities, and we have different means to achieve that. And this is where the dialogue has to take place. We accept the common but differentiated treatment that each country can contribute and must contribute differently. But the challenge is the same. For electrical vehicles, DTIC, as you know, has issued a green paper on advancement on electrical vehicles in South Africa. So South Africa is already undertaking a certain step. Now, the question is that how are you going to cope with this challenge, according to which timelines? Because let's not fool ourselves. One day or another, we have to comply with certain things, not only because you want to export to Europe, but even for your internal and domestic market. And this is a discussion we need to have. We cannot have an ostrich attitude of saying delaying. We have different timelines, but we need to challenge that. But Volkswagen, what are your plans, if you can tell, and what this means for an important province like Eastern Cape? How are you working together in all this to make electrical vehicles true? Because our economic partnership agreement, now I'm taking again the abstract view, sorry for that, but it's not again adapted to the challenge of electrical vehicles. We still are coming for a philosophy of 10 years ago where vehicles, passenger vehicles, normal combustion engines were the reality. So our tariff structure and things were adapted to that reality. But we need to take into account, so what about electrical vehicles? Is the tariff structure and the EPA still adapted? I don't think so. But this is a kind of discussion we need to have. But can I put you on the spot? And with Dirk permission.
So maybe I have to split it a bit. There are more streams which we have to think about. For sure, in the moment, we export to Europe. And here we need a change. We are committed. for sure. But we have also still to think about what we are doing in Africa. To start here with EVs in the moment, I think it's not so fast as in Europe. So we are still committed also for the African market without EVs. But to make it happen here with the EVs, we are one plant of a lot, and you need a battery plant. Here we start the first topic, and for a battery plant, just you have an idea, you need approximately 600,000 cars. That would be already the full market here. And we have to think about, because we have all the raw materials here, excluded cobalt, but it's not so far away, what we can do out of that we keep the transformation from the raw material to the battery here in that plant. If we that achieve, then the game is much, much easier. And we have to find the right product which we can deliver to Europe, because the transformation to EV happens already, and we are not so quick as Europe. So also there we have to find out where is our place in that, first in the Volkswagen family world, but for all the others, Mercedes, Toyota, BMW, they have the same topic. And the EU is very fast. For us it's not so easy to be so fast, but we are already thinking about the next generation, how to make it happen. And I don't want to complain, because I'm since October here, but that you have an idea, if I bring a supplier in, which makes the battery, which is a material cost of 30%, that brings me from level 3 to level 7. And this is another thing. I want not to complain, because that are the rules. We are committed, but it makes the life not easier to bring this change also here for us in. You can compensate it with a margin, but we don't want to sell unique cars for only a few persons. We are Volkswagen. It means whiteness for all people. And that's something where we are struggling. I'm in the purchasing. I'm responsible for in the end of the day also for part of the price of the car. So, and in a moment, we have to think about together how to make it happen. Because for me, I hear green energy, all that CO2 neutral. We have it here, sun, water, wind. Usually we could make an industry park to open it. The supplier could deal with certificates. Ideas we have, but we must make it happen, because behind of that you need infrastructure. Water in this area is a topic. ESCOM, okay, you know, but you need that transformation as well as we had it in Germany, to make it happen that you're not so dependent on coal, because you have everything here. And for me, it's only we need somebody to take it and to make it. And I'm in the moment don't see that the private sector can do so easily without the support of the government. So it's also maybe this transformation, what we did in Europe, maybe we together can learn here something from Europe, how they made it, but only a bit faster. 30 years and we're out of business. Then India, South America, all of them took over combustion and EVs, and then we are not anymore the rock of Africa. For me, here we are the heart of Africa, what is industry, but time is running. So if you ask for a strategy, we are working on it, but we should be aware alone, the industry here cannot make it. We are not so strong. So I talk already we, because I'm a part of that now. I'm committed, and usually if you have a strong industry, you have a lot of export suppliers. But our suppliers are only exporting through us. If you look in India, mostly of that volumes also from the Indian suppliers goes, don't only over the OEMs. So we have to work on that everybody can be competitive compared to the others. And that starts with CO2. It's a chance. Because we can sell with a green, how we say, one green finger. Yeah, that we are a part of that green story because we can make it happen. But it's not easy, seems like. But that are my ideas and everything what I learned after the now, a bit more than a half a year. But I think and I feel we have huge opportunities here. But we have to make it happen. Yeah, thank you. Hopefully it was okay.
Can we give them Thank you to all the speakers, and thank you as well for your extensive response to the questions. The next item, we were going to talk about ourselves, the Eastern Cape and the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. Given the time challenges we have, we think we will skip that item. We're putting it forward. Unless there's a protest, we will skip that item. We will now take the access to market presentation. Daryl, please come, and then the MEC will close thereafter.
Watch out.
Wait, yeah, can you put the projector back on because it doesn't connect to the screen? Huh?
You gotta watch us.
Yes. I'm going to make it quick.
Just press power next time it's on because it's off. Now switch it on.
It's not switching.
It's switching on now. Next time switch off, just press power.
Yes. Amen.
You see? There we go. Okay, great.
Can you just put down a bit the lights?
Good afternoon, everyone. So, thanks a lot. My name is Darren. I'm from the EU delegation in Pretoria, working with Roberto and his team in the Trade and Economics section. And this afternoon, I have the, I think, unenviable task of standing between yourselves and lunch, and even more importantly, between yourselves and the MEC. So I think I will go through the presentation pretty quickly. I had planned a little bit longer, but we are pressed for time, so let me get started. Right, so we've heard today about the certain untapped opportunities and potentials for exports to the EU from specifically the Eastern Cape, but this is a little bit more of a practical aspect to the program today. So I'll present to you the online portal, which is the access to markets. There have been a number of questions already asking about how to get information on various EU markets, and this is in fact the tool to do that. So as you can see on the screen here, you're at the stage where you've all read Martin's excellent study. You've identified specific products that you would like to see. The study is also on the EU Chamber of Commerce website, so I would encourage you to visit the EU Chamber to get a copy of the study itself. And the next step would be for yourselves to visit the Access to Markets online portal. So it's really an online portal with information of exporting and importing, but not necessarily for your, not in your interest, but exporting to the EU market. It provides you with information on tariffs, taxes, customs procedures, rules of origin, very importantly, trade barriers, product requirements, specific and general requirements, statistics, and so on and so forth. For all, let me add, for all EU member countries, so the 27 specifically. So the objectives, of course, it's to support, first and foremost, companies to internationalize, to export, to import, easier to access various opportunities. We've made it even easier also with the study, I hope, to highlight some specifics. Inform about the EU trade agreements that we have signed with partner countries, obviously South Africa being one of these through the SADC EU EPA, and also to break down legal language into more practical, understandable information and easy online access to the information. Now, there are kind of three dynamic search aspects of this tool. One is called My Trade Assistant, which I'll show you in a second. The second one is dealing with trade barriers, and thirdly, statistics, as I mentioned earlier. And major innovations, we have done a lot of work on this tool, is called ROSA, which is the Rules of Origins Self-Assessment. So you can look at your product that you're wanting to export, understand whether it is meets the requirements for rules of origin, and obviously makes access to the markets much easier. Very quickly, the user groups, companies, as I mentioned earlier on, SMEs within EU and around the world. Business organizations, I know we have some chambers in the room this afternoon as well. Advisory services such as the Enterprise Europe Network. We don't have, unfortunately, a node in South Africa yet. We would be very interested to discuss, we have been discussing with various chambers who are here, possibilities around this, and then obviously the trade promotion organizations, our host this morning, ECDC, as an example. So the access to markets, or the A2M as we call it, really informs on all of the EU trade agreements. As you can see, this map indicates the trade agreements that the EU has as of 2021 around the world, representing around 135 markets, which covers about 90% of European exports. So for these 135 countries, we deliver product-specific information, as I mentioned earlier, on the tariffs, the customs, etc., etc. Let me move on. Obviously, it informs on the EU market. So this is specific information, and there were a few questions earlier, on all EU member state countries for companies wanting to access those markets. And importantly, it also provides contact details for the specific member states. So in the administrations, in the headquarters, in the trade sections. So through the search, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes' time, results you can expect. Information on tariffs, I think I've mentioned most of this already. Internal taxes, rules of origin. So the red highlighted topics are really of interest to South African businesses and organizations that are here. The next two, information that is available, is really at this stage only available to Canada and Japan. This is on procurement information. We are working on increasing the number of third countries that are covered in this. The same with services and investment information. So let's move on. So here we go, some practical examples. As you can see, I had a few lined up for you, but I will keep it just to one. And in fact, I will take a risk and use one of the examples that I did not prepare. So let's see. I will take you now to the website, or I hope I will. Let's see.
Has any of you made use of this IT tool before? Did you know that this existed?
I'm just trying to...
I'm asking Ayanda, it would be good to put it on your website also, because you find everything there for exporting to the EU.
Let's see, we should be... Yes, there we go. Okay, so we followed the link to the Access to Markets website. You can Google it, Access to Markets, you'll find it as the first result. So you want to now understand what you need, what information you require to export your specific product to a European market. So for example, and Martin spoke earlier about jam. So let's try to see. For example, you want to export jam. You input it right there, country from South Africa, to, let's use Martin's earlier example, Czech Republic. And you hit the search button. Now, if everything goes according to plan, exactly. Here you'll receive then a list of products. As Martin also mentioned, there are a lot more detail in the EU, so the 8-digit versus the 6-digit HS codes. We scroll to your product that you're looking for. Ours in this case is jams. You show the list of products. It takes you again to more information. You follow it. And if you remember your HS code, 200, it should be just over here. Exactly. Jams, we follow other, and citrus fruit. So as you can see, so as an example, we'll use this specific product. And now, here is the interesting information that you receive. So it'll give you, as you can see on the left-hand menu bar, the first, it details the tariffs. So the ergonomness, the MFN duties, or tariffs, you can see the details, and this will give you for each product. And this is specifically from South Africa to the Czech Republic. And an important one is the rules of origin. So information on rules of origin, we have another tool. As I mentioned earlier, this is the self-assessment tool to understand. And basically what it is used for is to understand whether you can take advantage of preferential tariffs for your product. Your product needs to actually originate from the trading partner with a signed agreement with the EU to take advantage of these preferential tariffs. So as you can see, it's a self-assessment. You go through pretty self-explanatory, answering the questions. Does your product comply with rules? Yes. The second aspect, which we are on at the moment, is how to document that product, where it originates. So very easy again, pretty simple. The third one is how to transport originating products via third countries. So once you've completed these yes-no questions on the right-hand side, you will receive results of your self-assessment. You can print it yourself to understand whether you have then the possibility to take advantage of the preferential tariffs under the EPA that we have between South Africa and SADC member states. Also important to note that this assessment is not a binding determination. If you do, or not a binding determination of origin, if you want a binding one, you have to obviously request from the national customs authorities for this binding information. The next important aspect on taxes, you can see there's no excise tax, a value-added tax in the Czech Republic at 15%. You're also able to access legislation through the hyperlinks on the right-hand side. And then regarding specific questions we had earlier on specifics around import requirements, we have overviews. You can see over here that this details really all specific formalities and provisions regarding imported products into the country, being Czech Republic in this case. All information general as well as specific. So it's really easy to navigate through the drop-down menus. Traceability, labeling, all the information you could wish for, you will find in the access to markets. And then as well, there is a how to read the results. So if you're a bit confused, really easy to follow, to understand. Now, that is a very quick run through of how to understand information in terms of specific products. In the top menu bar, we have a toolbox, frequently asked questions, glossaries, tutorials as well, and really about the access to markets. I think single entry point, this is more for European businesses, but I would like to just show you that it is also a contact point. Trade barriers could be useful for yourselves as well, just to understand trade barriers faced in other third countries. Perhaps if you're looking to export to another third country, there's information here that may be interesting per country, per third country. More than this, I think, colleagues, in the interests of time, we are and we would be very happy to discuss together with ECDC to propose a much more in-depth training to interested businesses, organizations on this specific tool. We think it is of great benefit, and we will take that discussion up with ECDC, and I'm sure if there's interest from the province, we'd be happy to provide this more in-depth to our session to you. Thank you very much. That's all.
I think a very valuable tool. Just maybe 5 minutes allocation for questions. Linda, your help on the questions. Sorry.
Thank you. I have one question for the gentleman, just one. When we importing items into South Africa, the way to calculate import duty, they're using the transaction value plus a percentage of that to get to the customs duty, and then they add your excise and. Now, my question on the, let's say the example you've shown us just now. Import duty for the gem, say 10%. Excise duty is 15%. Now, my question is, does this tool give me the final amount of the duty due on that specific item? That's my question.
Let's see if there's more.
Thanks, Chair. Mine is a quick one, man. I just want to check if you are having an interest of ensuring that your small, medium, micro enterprises are able to benefit and climb up into the formal economy, if I may put it that way, does the app have a mobile app in terms of them, so that they can be able to system? We know that they have iPhones, they have a lot of things that they can be able to do, so that they can have businesses that will be on their phone and quickly be able to, benefit and to get the information. Thanks.
Hi, afternoon. So I'm Krista. I've got 2 questions, not only for you, but mainly for the German and the Italians and France and whoever is listening. Number 1, please, if we can get your presentation in email, that would be great, because a lot of things we couldn't see there on screen. Then number 2, how big do you think purification is if we are to export those? We do have a water problem, as he mentioned, and we do water purification, as well as sanitary grey water systems, whatever comes our way. So boil water, sea water, whatever can be cleaned, we do that. And how big do you think is that to export your way in obviously growing the company?
I think that's all. Yeah,
Thanks. Let me get the easiest one first on the app. Not specifically an app, but it is available on mobile devices. Absolutely, the website works perfectly. So this is pretty easy. On the second one, it won't give you the total. It won't give you the total cost, because it obviously depends on the overall amount. This gives you an indication of what the duty would be per 100 kilos or whatever the case is. Obviously, it depends on the CIF. Roberto, I don't know if you want to add on this one specifically. Yeah.
But you can answer to the rest of the questions you want.
Yeah,
Or?
that's good.
Yeah, no, for the how you calculate the import duty specifically, and I need, where is Martin here? Because Martin, I worked a lot on customs legislation in my past as well, but normally the import duty in the EU is calculated on the CIF price, that is the cost of freight and insurance price included. Is that right, Martin? So that means the CIF price changes according to the product and the specific consignment, so we cannot know it in advance. So that means if there is a 15% customs duty, that 15% will be calculated on the basis of the CIF price at arrival in Europe. And the same applies to the excise duty, in fact, when it arrives at the customs point of entry. Now, our database cannot calculate that, because you would need to insert, and also because we don't want to be bound by the responsibility, because it's a question of the exporter or importer of establishing all this. So all that has to be calculated more manually then. But it gives you an idea in any event of what is already the customs duty, excise duty, and all the others, all the other requirements, in fact. And for the water purifier, I give now the floor to my colleagues from member states. But the first thing actually is I guess you're referring to specific products or technologies. So the if it is a case of specific products, for instance, I don't know, you have a chemical element that you put in the water to purify it in a certain way, that normally has an HS code. So any product has an HS code. So if I were you, I would speak actually to the customs people or whoever has knowledge, and you go to that database, you put the because if you put water purifier, you will not find very easily the product. You need to find how it is classified according to World Customs Organization rules in the harmonized system. You get the code, and then you see exactly how Darren explained what you, where you want to export from South Africa, and what are all the rules related to that specific product. So that is actually more the administrative side. Now, in terms of which kind of product or technology is required in the specific member state where you want to export, that is a bit more complicated. I don't know whether you want to take the floor. My feeling would be you need a market research. You need to see which are your competitors which is the niche that gives you a competitive advantage in a specific market. And that requires much more in-depth contacts and information. So you want to add something to that, Julia, Dirk, William? Martin, what would be your...
No, I think I said it earlier, you've got to do your homework.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I think one component that I can get is that maybe your details will be given to Linda, the lady, is that we do market research for targeted market by our customers and do business-to-business session to make sure that there is negotiation, with regards to detail. So I think maybe, which is part of the program that we undertake annually. We advertise them on our website or social media platform. We go to all districts anyway, do training sessions, awareness sessions, so that because we want to convert more enterprises that are currently selling to the domestic market to think about export, because there are a lot of, we've discovered that 3 years ago that there are a lot of Eastern Cape companies that have got a market-ready product, but their companies are not, export-ready products, but their companies are not export-ready in terms of systems. So we get agents now that are export-ready to help them, get to the market, because sometimes it takes too long to get a company export-ready. But it's easier when you've got an export-ready product to get someone to a route to market, to get you to the other market. So we are flexible. We can use a different type of instrument. We've got agreement with the Trade Advisory, Dr. Martin Cameron, that they do a lot of our research, and when we do our training session, we share, these search engines on how to, use these search engines, to get to the markets, but also, provide real-time data in terms of market opportunities. Every year we have a roster of such sessions, and they become full. We can't take everyone, but we take as many companies as we can accommodate at a particular venue, at a particular session. But also, let me just maybe, because I don't think that we'll have another opportunity. On the 12th of July, there's going to be a cannabis webinar session. We're now sending out invites to get as many companies as possible to participate. On the 14th and 15th of September, we've got an annual export symposium and exhibition. It becomes a massive event where our companies, alongside the conferencing process, they showcase their products and services to the market, and we know that we've got so much in the Eastern Cape that we can offer and export to the EU that the EU is not aware of. But during those sessions, this year is going to be at the East London International Convention Centre. We get a lot of presentation on regulatory compliance, trade agreements in terms of the conferencing side, but companies continue on the exhibition side, showing their products and services. So I thought maybe let me announce that. Also with SADC, we also host SADC Exporters Award, recognizing companies that have got in the SADC region. This year is going to be here in Port Elizabeth at the Boardwalk. Contributed so much in export, but we're starting this with this partnership with the US, but I think we'll do the same with the EU. Thank you. Thank you to Darren. Earlier, I think there was a suggestion that we work on a link between this search engine and our website. We will do that. We should assist in providing an easier access to it. MEC, I think you've been ready for the last 45 minutes. I would like to invite you to close the session for us. Thank you very much.
Don't worry, take for mine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gqebwrha. I think I'm in the most difficult position. Standing between you and the end of the session. The executive mayor of the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan Municipality, Councillor Johnson, and Councillor Jack, the MMC for Economic Development in the municipality, Mr. Roberto Chekuti, Head of Trade and Economics, and with your delegation. I'm not going to even attempt some surnames here. I will not make it. Dr. Martin Cameron, the HODs from the two departments, Mr. Majek, the head of department for the provincial treasury in the province, and Ms. Mama, the head of department for the Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism. They were both here. So, okay, I can see Mr. Majek. I don't, maybe Ms. Mama is just outside. Oh, okay, there's HOD. So you must make sure that you can see them. To the CEO of ECDC, Mr. Gqebwrha, and your delegation as well, the CEOs and members I heard, there were business chambers that are here. I've seen Borakai, I've spoken to the CEO. I did not see the... yes. Oh, okay, it's represented. Thank you very much. It's important that when we come into these sessions, we have these business chambers here. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. That 20 minutes of tea time has cost us. So you must now learn, Mr. Gqebwrha, that anyone wants tea must just go have tea, come back with his cup of tea without breaking. Because now, at the time, it's 13:40, and I will stop speaking at 1400 exactly. But thank you very much for for coming to the Eastern Cape and specifically coming to Gqebwrha. This was a very useful session. It's a pity that it was a bit overloaded given the time. Should have been actually for the whole day. It would have been much better. But it is a very useful session. And we must have more of these sessions. I did speak to Mr. Gqebwrha Ted that Sarah Bartman is not here, which is a district surrounding the metro. Because when you talk about the citrus, you talk about, it's in Sarah Bartman, Sunnis River Valley, and you talk about the fruit, deciduous fruit is in Langkloof. So all of these things are outside and it's not part of this session. And I always have to speak for Sarah Bartman because that's where I come from. So I cannot accept a situation when we come here, Costa, you come from Sarah Bartman as well. You must speak for Sarah Bartman. We can't come here without Sarah Bartman being present, Mayor. So, but Mr. Gqebwrha has accepted that it was just, one of those things. But also, hopefully, the next one will be in East London, Mr. Gqebwrha, so that we move with the province just a little bit and move to East London if we have a time. We are, just to talk to a few things that were raised if necessary. We have an entity, AIDC, you should know about it, and it is attending to the EV situation. There were policy proposals towards the white paper that were invited, and for a long time nobody did anything about it. No submissions were made. And through the CEO of the AIDC, Mr. Taboshenqane, then started to submit proposals towards the white paper, to the green paper by DTIC towards the white paper. And after doing that, as the Eastern Cape, because nobody was moving, and so, but we started making some submissions. And after that, He then went to Gauteng and spoke to AIDC in Gauteng. Together they formulated their proposals and submitted. I know he was busy now with KZN, because with automotives you've got those 3 provinces and they are preparing. Because when you speak to the OEMs, they will tell you that it's difficult to commit to South Africa on EVs because there's no policy. It makes sense. Because the minister published a green paper. Everyone is supposed to have made inputs into that green paper, and so that there is policy. So we're trying to move such that there is because the biggest question is that we asked ourselves, from the side of AIDC, is how do we assist our OEMs to be players in the electric vehicles in our province? And so we started to say the best way to do it is let's mobilize all other provinces to start making inputs into the green paper. So we've done that. At least after doing it, we've got Gauteng doing it. Now we're busy with KZN, and after that we want to drive it and see movement, because to us in the Eastern Cape it means a lot. Without going through what the thing so. But also on the wool project, somebody was talking about the greening of the wool. I know there was a project done with the UNDP, TED. It was about mohair, because remember we produce about 60% of the mohair of the world as the Eastern Cape, but we wash around 80 to 90% of the mohair of the world. That's all we do. We produce it and wash it, and then it's all gone. And I think there was a project which was through the UNDP where it was dealing with the greening of the mohair from what it eats up until the last stage in washing it. But it's just one of those things that we were not monitoring. But now that somebody raised it, I will have to follow up and see how far is that project or that program gone. Mr. Chikuti, you are welcome to join us in the trail. Actually, we've developed a longer trail now from that side of Amambondo to here in Port Alfred. So you can, yes, it is long, but you can get out of it. You can leave the trail at any given point in time. And there's a lot of experience, things that you will learn in the trail. So let me know when you're coming. I'll make a few suggestions for you. Let me acknowledge every company that is here today to make the EU Eastern Cape Trade Partnership a reality. Because today is largely for them, the companies that are selected to be here in this workshop. The global value chains offer new market opportunities, and it is vital that as governments and entities participating in global trade, we strengthen these partnerships in the manner we are doing today. And this is necessary to ensure that the barriers associated with global trade, along with the accompanying restrictions, do not continue to limit the amount of trade activities between our countries. That's adversely impacting on opportunities for growth and for the SMMEs. So our conviction is to create conditions that benefit the partners in this relationship of the EU and Eastern Cape, and to empower the Eastern Cape companies through digital trade, increased access to information, improved skills, export product and service quality requirements, information, and to better the access markets, to the markets, to targeted markets, and ensuring that Eastern Cape companies, particularly SMEs, are well equipped for trade facilitation and connectivities to the EU and other markets that present opportunities for the Eastern Cape government. I was very happy that there was an opportunity for them to ask questions and get so clarities, and it was quite encouraging. Companies need to be aware of the opportunities, whether in Southern Africa or in Europe, which is what one of the study that was done, I think there was a study undertaken as part of the EU. The study was done as part of, I'm just thinking about the study that was done, but it was done as part of the EU and SACU, the Southern African Customs Union Economic Partnership Agreement. on trade in goods. It has highlighted specific opportunities for various industries. It is to grow and or to diversify their exports, and in the process help to offset some export risks in the industry. So there's no reason for not to increase our direct sales, for instance, of citrus to Hungary, because it meets all the requirements in terms of trade potential, in terms of existing infrastructure in industries and demand, among others. And South Africa has lemon trade deals with other European countries. So the lemon industry can be a large-scale employer in South Africa and needs to be further developed. But the key message is that there are alternative opportunities that Eastern Cape is not capitalizing on, and I think in the presentations that has been demonstrated. So companies need to be aware of those opportunities. Different regions and their societies also have different tastes, which present additional trade opportunities when companies start delving into individual countries and export opportunities. The COVID-19 pandemic brought urgency in our objective and efforts towards inclusive economic growth. This includes continuous efforts towards ensuring the ease of doing business for incoming investors as well as those investors that are already trading in the Eastern Cape. We know that the whole country, starting from national, we developed the economic recovery plan. It was cascaded into all provinces. It had all the pillars, so we as also in our province did that. We are happy to state that among the EU prominent investments in the Eastern Cape, Germany, through the automotive industry, has made a home in the Eastern Cape. Mr. Gqebwrha earlier made mention of the Lisbon bitumen as the latest investment we've welcomed in one of our industrial parks in Fort Jackson. And other EU states making the top 5 trading partners, I think were indicated here by Roberto, with the Eastern Cape, the Czech Republic, Netherlands, Italy, and Belgium. So the partnership the Eastern Cape has with the European Union opened doors to markets of all the 27 EU members. So the Eastern Cape Provincial Government commends this partnership as it works towards improving sustainable economic growth, global export competitiveness, and increased trade. It's evident that countries with more open economies export more and better embrace new technologies and innovation. So Africa and the Eastern Cape is awash with opportunities, including its rich natural and mineral resources. So these, along with opportunities in the oceans economy, agriculture and agro-processing, manufacturing, renewable energy, and tourism, present real opportunities for the European Union members, states, companies. Let me conclude by saying the government of the Eastern Cape would like to thank the European Union for the confidence placed in the Eastern Cape province, demonstrated through the partnership with the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. I'd also like to thank you, Councillor Johnson, for hosting us in the city. We're hoping that the next time we move to East London, you also visit so that we can see East London. Let me thank all of you that have joined us physically, and I understand there are some that are connecting online. I heard that later on there will be an opportunity for networking. I'm not certain whether it's after lunch or during lunchtime or I know there's also an evening session. But all I can say is that when that opportunity avails itself, I would want everybody to make use of it, because these guys might not be coming soon. I know they will say we are coming back, but there is a demand. They are in demand. We'll put our dates and they will not be available. So that opportunity, when it availed, please make certain that you network and get closer to them so as to encourage them to come back. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Embassy. We are all invited for a finger lunch. I think it will be served at the foyer. Thank you very much. The session is closed. Thank you.
you.